Philip, if you could tell me a bit about your background and journey through education to the leadership role that you have today as founding head of secondary at Arcadia Dubai.
Yeah, thank you very much, Max. Um, like many people in leadership, you start on the shop floor, and I started off as a teacher back in the day. Now I've got grey hairs. It feels many years ago now, but I started out in the UK and had some really fantastic role models. Very fortunate that the people who I worked under senior leadership were just excellent. People like Martin Parker and Paul Stevenson, Steve Harvey. They really showed me the ropes when I necessarily didn't know kind of what outstanding teaching looked like. Um, Very fortunate to make my way out to China with Wellington College and did a startup school there, which opened my world to a whole different kind of remit of different cultures, different parameters, expectations of what international education looks like, and a whole bunch of different scenarios there. So I was there as a deputy head teacher. Again, worked on some fantastic people like Helen Kavanagh and Kath Richardson. Following China, made my way to Egypt, NCBIS, and got to work with people like Paul Rowe, who's now head of secondary here in Dubai. And then I'm here now as a founding head teacher here at Arcadia Global School. So this is my second time starting up a new school. It all feels familiar. I think I've looked back with rose-tinted glasses how much fun the first time one was. And yeah, really enjoying it. But boy, it's hard work. So I guess, when I was talking to you, Max, about the next thing we could talk about and share expertise and ideas, it was the idea of kind of founding and what that means and why that's really different to being in an established school. So those kind of leaders that want to work in set up a founding school or want to go work in a founding school, even as a teacher, it can be a very different skill set, very different scenarios, very different personalities that you need to get the school off the ground. I thought it might be interesting to have a chat about
Absolutely. And we'll dive into those different hats that you wear currently in a bit. But yeah, firstly, if you could tell us a bit about the nationality split, number of staff members that you have at Arcadia Global School, that would be great, and the kind of the structure, the curriculum at the school.
Yeah, so we're a British international school, do the British curriculum through. But the name's global means that we are 60, 70 different nationalities in terms of students, all range, British, Brazilian, Indian, a mixture of Arabic countries, Emiratis, a full range. It really is global by name and global by nature. And that's really because the demographic of where we sit in Dubai in Al Jan is that our area where we're in is fully multicultural too. Um, in the secondary school, we're still quite small. We're growing. We are roughly kind of 180 to 200 students currently, so still relatively small. But we're going to grow up to a fairly large school. We've got a brand new auditorium being built with a 1,100 seats auditorium, three-tiered kind of
Wow.
theatre with orchestra pit and all the mod cons on it. Fantastic. Like one of the biggest LED screens in Dubai. It's going to be like the Dubai Opera House kind of
Wow.
style in terms of structure. It's going to be amazing. But our teachers are all different demographics too. We really try and go by the mantra of talent trumps passport. So if you're a fantastic teacher, regardless of where you're from, we want to look for you. So we've got British teachers, we've got South African, we've got Irish, we've got some Indian teachers, all different ranges really. So what we're looking for is talent, experience, enthusiasm, and the right personalities. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, wonderful. And sort of now looking at sort of the different hats that you're wearing, having now founded two schools, what have you learned? And maybe let's start by looking at the current hats that you're wearing at Arcadia Global School. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote a list quickly before before I was meeting you today. I thought, right, okay, he's going to ask this question, and I know I haven't listed all the hats here. I know there's more things to do, and anyone who's been a founding leader or worked in a founding school will know this. And I'm going to name a whole bunch of stuff here that could be five, six different leadership kind of jobs. So everything from strategic planning, the high end top of leadership of where the school's going and the vision and how that links in. I work really closely with the principal here and where the school's growing to. Recruitment, I know we just spoke off air, Max, about the ongoing recruitment, quality assurance, so less observations, all the book looks, data analysis, pupil progress intervention meetings, your head of department meetings, staff appraisal meetings, pastoral care, running the tutor team, running the assemblies, running the certificates that get rewarded out at assemblies, writing of the curriculum and then developing the curriculum and then the professional development of the curriculum and of all the staff, any inspection preparation and inspection report writing, day-to-day problem solving that happens in all schools around the world, writing the policies of the school, duties, duty rota, monitoring of the duties, cover, implementing the cover, managing the cover, quality assuring the cover, admissions of new students, meeting parents of new students, then the marketing that goes into the school and all the promotion of that, events, trips, the trip organizer as well, all the parent communications, so all the newsletters, monthly newsletters that are linked to secondary, parental communication daily in terms of being a senior leader, head of secondary, building plans for the new building, equipment orders. I was in a building meeting a few weeks back that was looking at where the plug sockets go. How many desks and chairs do we go in? Where's the windows? Where do the shelvings kind of go? So everything goes into kind of a number of hats, and that's kind of from a top end. So if you think within kind of lesson observations or book looks, it's looking at, well, what's the pro forma for a seating plan going to be? What's the lesson plan we're all going to use? What's the displays going to look like? What should go on the displays? All of these things go in. So it's not just about the number of hats. It's also about, have you got a suitcase that has all, here's one I made earlier for those kind of old Blue Peter fans, that you can bring to a school or have in your back pocket that can come out. So often you are, as wearing many different hats, you are setting up everything literally from scratch. You are starting again and then hopefully building something that everyone can work, and it works across a breadth of subjects. I hope that gives you some indication,
I
Max,
mean,
of
that's yeah,
the number of
that's
different
quite
hats.
something. And just sort of breaking that down a bit. So, we've all got the same hours in the day. So how on earth do you go about splitting out your time so that you're giving each of those different tasks, a bit of focus each day, or are there certain crunch periods where you're having to block out time to do one particular thing? How does that work in terms of your time management?
Got to be really organized. I think when I was younger, my mum used to always make the saying that I sailed too close to the wind. I think when I was a teenager, I always left my deadlines too late, and I'm sure there's many parents out there with kids doing GCSEs that are saying the same thing about them. And I think that kind of really kicked me into gear, that I do feel very organized. I'm very fortunate that like I said, I've worked under great leaders that have role modeled what to do. They've also had best practice and various kind of things already aligned. So when you walk into a new school and you need a feedback and marking policy, it's easy to go, well, here's one I know that works.
Mm.
And not just works, but it's being used in outstanding schools. So I know it's of an outstanding nature and I know it's applicable. Here's what a staff appraisal looks like. This works. And it's not just on writing from scratch. And that makes a huge difference, that you're not completely writing from nothing. I have that experience to be able to put those things in place.
Mm.
But quite frankly, you can't give everything the same amount of time, and you have to pick and choose what your priorities are. So for here, it's teaching and learning. It's making sure that our curriculum and everything is up to scratch, and we're giving the students an experience in the classroom that is what they deserve and what the parents are paid for. I remember saying to my team at the start of the year, parents are paying for a service in the school, they paid their tuition fees, and therefore they expect everything to be set up now. And we can't complain that we haven't had a year to set it up. We've got a few weeks to make sure we're up and running and going. So if you bought a mobile phone contract and you had data and minutes, and then the mobile phone contract said, but the data will be ready in January, is that okay? You can wait till then. I think you'd be like, well, I've paid for it now. So we've made a huge push on curriculum, and I'd recommend anyone who's starting the school, focus on your curriculum, focus on
Mm.
teaching and learning, focus on what happens in the classroom, your systems, your processes. Those sweat the small details makes a difference. So who's on duty? Where should they be? What should they do on duty? Because if you get that right in the first few weeks, by week 6 and week 7, you don't need to. Your staff know what the duties look like and what they should be doing, and they know they shouldn't be on their phones. They know they should be wearing a high vis jackets. They know where they should be escorting the students to, how to ring the bell, what time they ring the bell. So all those little details matter.
Mm.
And then you got to pick out your crunch time. So the last few weeks has been report proofreading, and that's the priority of making sure our parents getting quality reports. So all those things matter, and um, really relying on good people where you can to pick up things that you need them to. Something I learned the first time round that I made sure I got right this time is that when you're doing school reports, often you need a lead in time of about 8 to 10 weeks to make sure the template's right on the platform you're using. So whether it's Engage or iSounds or whatever it is, 8 to 10 weeks. And if you think, you go, okay, 8 to 10 weeks, that's fine. Well, a school term could be 12 weeks. So pretty much within the start of the academic year, you've got to have your report template ready in place to the company to make sure it's on time for when you release the report in December. Because if you don't get it in time, you've got a lot of angry parents wondering why they don't have a school report in time. So a lot of it is planning ahead, experience of being through it before, but really prioritizing of what's really, really important,
Mm.
and what can be pushed another day ahead, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And in terms of helping manage parents' expectations, is that something that you try to do as well? Is there sort of an understanding amongst the parents that, it is a startup school to a certain degree, and you are a founding member of it. So is that something that you can look to do with parents to sort of somewhat manage their expectations
There's a
within
bit of
within the
both.
culture?
So, I mean, it's no secret that within founding schools there are sometimes some sort of percentage off some of the founding fees. So there are those elements of attracting new parents into a school that will give you a discount because we know that not everything's in place yet. But I often, the principal's done a fantastic job here, Andy, of not going to parents to go, look, your expectations should be lower. And actually, we've said our expectations are higher. I know we're a new school, but we won't have all the answers, but still our expectations are really high. The difference is as founding parents, you can come and shape that. So rather than going to a school where it's managed already and all the solutions are there, and whether you like it or not, that's how the school is, actually our parents feel really engaged and they can help make things. So, simple things like events. There are always those school events that all schools do, like International Day, and the parent committees build into them. But if you are joining that school, then that event is already done and the way it's set out, and this is the way we do it. Well, in our school, or founding schools, I should say, in any founding school around the world, those parents have the ability to shape something specific to them, and they get a real buy-in. And so you
Mm.
actually find that they start the question of expectations isn't there because we have that expectation of what we're going to do, and we're aiming really high and we're going to get that. What they have the ability to then mold and shape it to what they want to. Also, I say that really when it boils down to it, what most, and I'm a parent myself, so I guess I'll talk from my own experience. What you're looking for is to make sure that the teaching learning is good and your child feels like they're learning. Um, you want to feel like your child's looked after in school, and that there's a good culture and a good feeling that your child's happy and wants to go to school. And that when it comes down to some crunch times in the year, like some kind of assessments, that you as a parent have early communication about it, what it's going to be, what it's like, and how you can support. And so it's not rocket science. So if you try and get those things in place of making sure that every day the child's able to go home and say, yeah, I had a good day in school. This is what I learned. I've made some good friends. We get to do this. And have you seen that email about the assessments in 2 months' time? Here's the revision links that we can work together and do the best we can. And that normally really kind of works, and that builds that culture. So, like I say, that the principal here has done a great job at really building that culture. And we've gone from a school that was initially expected to start off with kind of 300 students, and we've grown to 1,500 students. With the biggest opening ever within Dubai under KHDA as a school, because that culture and that high expectations, but the ability to buy into the school has really steamrolled through.
Yeah, yeah. And when it comes to, you mentioned that you're currently recruiting for a lot of roles, teachers and staff. And is there something you look for within the mindset of staff for a founding school, that maybe would be less of a priority for more of an established school? Can you talk to us a bit about that and how you look for the right person? Because I imagine it's quite a different
Yeah.
environment for teachers to come into. So yeah.
What a great question. Yeah. I had a head of primary a few years ago called Matt Coleman, who's a great head of primary. He's at Wellington College in China. And he said very clearly, he said, if you want to progress in a school, especially in kind of a new school, find a gap and fill it. So if there's a gap that you see that you've had in your previous school, that was something that was you did, or you saw that was run excellently, or you think you can
Mm,
do, find the gap and fill it, because the leaders won't be able to. You can make a difference. And not only does it help the students and it brings something extra to them, but also it helps improve the school and it helps improve your own CV as well.
mm,
So I'm looking for always staff who are good humored. They've got to have a good sense of humor, because in founding schools, not everything goes in a straight path. There are bumps in the road all the time, always things that you've kind of got to deal with. So someone with a good sense of humor, hard work ethic, um, flexibility, and is willing to fill that gap. So when they see something that, hey, why don't we do this? In my last school, we did this. Great. Come and do that at this school then. So
mm.
it's an inexact science, recruitment in all forms. It really is inexact, but a lot of it's on character and personality. Skills and knowledge you can teach, but judgment is something that comes with experience and comes with
Mm.
of being in places and being role modeled them. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I look for.
Yeah. And when it comes to that recruitment process, are there any sort of tips that you might give other leaders that are looking for similar talent to join their school that can be implemented within that recruitment process? Are there certain questions you might ask, or certain tasks you might give? Is what does that look like?
Well, for teachers, I will I will normally ask them questions around things that they may not like generally within their day. So I'll ask them about their thoughts around marking and seeing if they're the type of person who would, how do they proactively deal with the time management issues of marking?
Mm,
Marking is something where if you get on top of it and you do it really effectively, we all know that it makes a massive difference with students' progress. So we know it's really important.
mm,
The research says that. Our own anecdotal evidence within schools says that. So I'm always looking for teachers who find innovative ways of effectively marking. I ask them questions on the lines of, how do you react to decisions you don't agree with? I want to see how they interact with that. And I'm often looking for people to understand that there's bigger picture views to that maybe they're not aware of. Relationships is really important. So make sure having a positive relationship with your line manager,
mm,
feeling like you can ask open questions, but then offering solutions. And it's amazing how revealing those style questions can be when I'm asking teachers. Sometimes they'll come back with not the most proactive response. Sometimes they'll mark very infrequently, or they don't think it's very important. And so those are things I'm looking for: flexibility, the revealing elements of a person's character, how they deal with deadlines and stress. Another one that's quite good is I'll ask them in 3 words, how would their students describe them? And it's funny how you can see in their mind, teachers will flip between what's a good answer in an interview that makes me look good, and
the honest answer.
how, how do students kind of see me?
Yeah.
And the more honest they are, the more I feel I engage with them. So
Mm,
if they say they're firm and fair, and they are firm and fair, then that's a really good indication that they're someone who's very genuine. They're someone who is who they say they are. So
yeah.
those are kind of the revealing questions, but it's hard. Recruitment's an inexact science,
Yeah.
and it's one of the most important things, whether you're founding or not founding. It's one of the most important things in a school, because ultimately, as a senior leader, whether you're a principal, a head of secondary, vice principal, whatever you are, you don't really run the school. What you do is you set a framework and a culture and a basis for the school to run.
Mm.
And then it's all about your middle leaders and your teachers running the school. So if you've
Yeah.
got good people in any industry, in any business, any walk of life, on that ground floor and the level above, then you're onto a successful pathway.
Yeah, yeah. And that concept of finding problem solvers massively resonates, across, like you said, across any sector, finding people that think of solutions and that can jump to a potential, they can maybe see the problem, understand it from most angles, and then think about, okay, how do we move forwards is such a big step, isn't it? And that additional step of how do we solve this problem isn't always the case, is it? So finding those people and holding on to them is absolutely vital, right?
Yeah.
And
There's always push and pull factors, right? There's always
yeah.
like a push factor is something that leadership is pushing you to do that, and a pull factor is more come with us on this journey
Mm.
and come and do it. Try and recruit people who respond really well to pull factors because
Yeah.
no one likes to always be kind of pushed into this is what you've got to do, this is what you've got
Yeah.
to do, it's a management decision, this is what you do. Instead, in founding schools, it's more about we're going here on this journey and to outstanding education. Not everything is set. Don't come in and say, where is this? Come in and say, I've noticed that we don't have this.
Mm.
Here's an idea I've got. Could I run and do it? Really
Yeah.
fantastic. Because then they're in the pull factor. They're on the same bus as
Yeah.
as you are as a leader and where you're going. They've bought into the vision, they've bought into what you're trying to do, and
Yeah.
they are then adding extra impact in how to move the school forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to that onboarding process for new teachers in a founding startup school environment, do you feel like you have to go sort of that extra mile to make sure they're sort of embedded within the school, that helping, I suppose, form that school culture as well? Yeah, what does that process look like in terms of finding the right staff and then bringing them into the fold?
Uh, I think there's a few facts here. One, it's location can make a big difference. So where I am now in Dubai, the onboarding process of getting used to the culture and the environment isn't such a priority because Dubai is very kind of westernized in some elements. In that, if you're coming from the UK, there is Wagamamas here, there is Nando's here, so there are those home comforts.
Mm.
When I was in China, there really wasn't that, and I was very conscious that if you're a teacher in the UK and you said to your friend, "Well, I'm moving to China," maybe the first response they get is, "Why? Why would you go there?" You don't tend to get the response with Dubai. There's more of a, "Okay, I understand. That sounds a very attractive opportunity." So I'm a bit envious on it. So in terms of onboarding in China, there's lots of early communication, lots of kind of sharing of images and pictures,
Yeah.
perhaps dispelling the myths of where you are
Mm.
and celebrating the great things um, of the location you're going to. The onboarding of original teams actually is not too difficult because they often feel quite special because they're the first ones there.
Mm.
They're the first ones as part of the team. And once they get over the idea that not everything is in place immediately and we're going to do this together, they quickly buy in that, we're making something special and we're building this together. The onboarding on founding schools that can be trickier is often year 2 or year 3, where you have your initial team that feels very tight and very close linked and have been through stresses and been through the growing pains of all the things that your first fire drill, your first lockdown drill, the
Yeah.
first time we have to evacuate somewhere, the first time of a medical case, the first time of an ambulance. How do they get through the gates? All these things that kind of growing pains of a brand new school. It's year 2 and year 3 and year 4 team that are no longer joining a founding team, but are still in a school that's growing because potentially you're at year 9 and year 10. So you don't have the establishment yet of the sixth form or of exam results. You
Mm.
don't have that yet. But at the same time, you're not part of the original founding team. So a lot of the onboarding there is making sure that the new ones coming in really integrate with the original ones
Mm.
and that they don't feel this separation of an original team and you're the next wave in. Instead, we're still part of one team moving towards this destination. You've just joined one
Yeah.
stop later on the train stop, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose having that joined up mindset of it's not like you have the founding team, then the next team can be people that would necessarily join an established school. You kind of want that thread of mindset that we're all going in the same direction. We're all problem solvers, we're collaborators, all going forwards, right? So it's, yeah, each layer you sort of seem you need to have that seamless mindset running through it, right? Connecting everyone up.
Yeah, definitely. And there's also teachers look for different things too. Some teachers have a preference that they prefer to teach A-level classes, and that
Mm,
tends to be their preference. So for them to be recruited to a founding school and teaching Key Stage 3 for the first year wouldn't be something that they'd be attracted to. So they wouldn't be the type of teacher that you'd necessarily aim to appoint or potentially would be attractive to. So you're more looking at more of a younger team initially as a founding team who are wanting to grow with the school and move forward and have experience at Key Stage 3 and some IGCSE or GCSE knowledge, and are looking to go that way. The difficulty then is that we know from secondary education that everything builds back from Key Stage 5, whether it's IB, A level, BTEC, whatever it is qualification you're doing, it tends to build back. So that can be one of the difficulties in founding teams in you're building a curriculum from year 7 upwards, when in reality you need to build it from Key Stage 5 backwards, but you don't
mm,
have those year groups yet. So you're constantly telling your team, I know we're building a year 9 curriculum and writing the schemes of work, but we're not writing a year 9 scheme of work. We're imagining a Key Stage 5 one and a
mm.
Key Stage 4 from year 11 and looking at the skills that's required that way.
Yeah.
And with newer style staff, that can be harder because they don't have the experience of what years of A level teaching looks like and what the skilled requirements are.
Yeah. Yeah. And looking forward, so in terms of anyone that might be listening that might be looking to start a school themselves or has maybe just got a job to start a school, what is it that you would? Well, I mean, two questions. So, what do you think makes a good leader, first of all, and then second of all, what advice would you give to aspiring leaders that might be looking to start a school? So, yeah, first of all, what makes a good leader in your eyes?
You've got to have experience across all facets of education. So whether that's through getting qualifications or whether it's actually experiencing yourself, you've got to have that. And by all facets, I mean not only just academic and pastoral, but I mean core subjects and non-core subjects. I mean marketing, I mean admissions, I mean public relations, I mean building budgets, um, everything in that governors, everything in that regard. You need to have experience across everything. And I use the word experience because you don't necessarily need to be good at everything, but you need to know enough that you're able to cover all bases and understand how to build the school correctly. It's there's He's the principal of RGS now, but he was the international director of Wellington College. Scott Bryan. He spoke a lot about legacy-based decisions, and that's really important, I think, for integrity-wise. You don't want to be making short-term decisions that, if you left the school in 3 years' time, someone else is coming in and picking up a mess and
Mm,
looking at the timetable and looking at the allocation and looking at the staffing and looking at contracts and thinking this is not being set right because you're going to spend 2 years trying to fix that, and that's not what you want. So if you are going to be a founding leader, having experience in a founding school is crucial. Having a suitcase of as many documents and schemes of work and policies as possible is important because the people you're hiring may not have that, and therefore you need to put that in place. And really knowing enough about English, math, science, what that looks like, how to order a budget for PE, what a DT budget should look like, and what do you need year 1 to make a curriculum work. How should the budget of a performing arts department be run, and how much should go into it? What should we be doing for marketing? How should we target? What demographics should we be targeting? What event should we put on, and what should the event look like? Because you may not have an events organizer, you may not have a marketing person. They could be more of a graphic designer as opposed to leading an event. Again, Lindsay Bellis, I worked with for years, was absolutely fantastic at this, who just had an eye for marketing events. And I was very fortunate in a previous school where I could say, okay, I need an event. This is what it looks like. And she would go, don't worry, leave it with me.
mm,
But that was very fortunate that I was in a school that had the budget who was able to employ that person from the start. Not all schools, founding schools, have that. Some founding schools, you'd have a more of a graphic designer that makes the posters. So therefore, what's the events going to run like? So I think to answer your question, Max, I feel like I've spoken a lot there, is if you're thinking of doing it, try and get as much experience of what a founding school looks like. Go talk to other founding heads, go talk to other founding principals, go and see what it looks like. Have experience is crucial because you're going to want to get accreditations and inspections early on. Um, you have no proof of concept as a founding school. So a lot of it's on faith with parents and students that you are going the right way. So the quicker you can get a British school overseas, or if you're in Asia, a Phobesia or COBIS or CIS or HPL, something that gives you proof of concept can make a big difference too in terms of the hallmark. And doing those kind of processes also focuses you as a school on your school self-evaluation, your school development plan. It pulls in place your action plans. And these are very established things in established schools, but it hones in suddenly what you need to do and where to improve the school.
Mm.
So get as much experience, know enough that you're not going to be told the wrong thing and can help provide solutions. And enjoy the ride because
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, definitely.
And my last question. So looking forwards over the next sort of 1 to 3 years, what are your what's your sort of mission and vision for the school over the next few years, and where do you see the school going in terms of growth, in terms of opportunities for advancement internally? Yeah.
You always get a huge amount of growth internally from teachers into middle leaders because there's always going to be gaps to be filled and the school will grow and because it's a new school, timetables are often in flux every year. So there's always going to be promotions internally. And that's something I want to grow a team internally. It's easier to get someone inside and go, I know who you are and I know what you can do in your skill set and I know the bits I can improve you on. So go run this bit for me. So that's easier in terms of that. uh, the priorities for me and the vision of the school moving forward are very much what I kind of intimated in the last answer, in that we have no our proof of concept is coming. We've had our KHDA compliance inspections and they're really positive and really, really positive. We've got our BSO inspection, British School Overseas inspection, coming up soon. So that'll be our proof of concept. It's looking at the IGCSEs. It's looking at scholarships for our incoming year nines. Ultimately, it's about getting great inspection ratings, having a culture that pupils really enjoy being at, having high staff retention, that they enjoy working here,
Mm.
and making us a hub within Dubai and within the wider kind of BSME, British School and Middle East, that Arcadia is a great school to work at, and that the you will come here and you'll learn something, you'll improve, you'll enjoy working here. It's hard work, but you'll enjoy it and you can make a mark. So for me, in terms of the next kind of 5 years, it's creating a little seed of a secondary school into something that is really efficiently running and is something that we're all really proud of, that we've made something here that, if we're going a bit kind of altruistic, which is one of our values, actually, my principal are very proud of that. If we're being very altruistic, the future of the students are kind of in the hands of the teachers. So putting in place an institution that does right by them is the key thing. We're very fortunate with our owners here, very very fortunate, and that's my thing. Yeah, let's make a school that's great, that really the kids like being at. They get great results, and they get to go on to the universities they want to, and then using that kind of pay it forward idea, one day they'll come back to Arcadia Global School and go, you really helped me out. Let's see what I can do to help you out, whether it's guest lectures, whether it's coming to meet the kids, entrepreneurship, all those kind of things.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Philip. That's so exciting, and you're really looking forward to seeing the journey of your school grow and going forward. And I'm sure we'll check in over the next year or so and see how you're doing. And I know we've discussed about bringing other founding members together to share ideas, insights, potential challenges, how you overcome them. So yes, stay tuned for that. But yeah, thanks once again, Philip. That's fantastic.